Hi, I'm Trooper Smacka.
Hi, I'm Trooper Wellman.
Please stay tuned for a behind-the-scenes look at being a state trooper.
And together, we can make a difference.
Here we are live at 360.Vegas studios. We have Trooper Smacka here with another edition of Trooper Talk. Trooper Smacka, thank you very much for being here.
Oh, it's always great to be on your show, Neil.
So we have a bunch of things that I wanted to talk about, but here's one thing that I wanted to discuss before. So here in Las Vegas, we're used to nice warm weather. You know, it's why a lot of people come here and, you know, they enjoy that.
Yes.
The other day I had to take my car to the dealership because it needed to have the coolant adjusted because of the cooler temperatures.
Yes.
There's things we need to do to our cars, you know, to prepare for the cooler temperatures, right? Yes. But also our driving is probably different in the cooler temperatures than it is in the winter months, right?
Definitely with inclement weather. If you're talking rain or snow or icy conditions, you definitely should slow your driving down and even drive quite a bit below the speed limit to be safe. On top of that, yeah, it comes down to science. Our cars are full of fluids and air and different things that operate differently, whether the temperatures are hot or very cold. So you may want to pay attention to the inflation on your tires. It's this time of year a lot of people start getting the warnings that their tires are low on air, and then temperature has a lot to do with that, as well as like you were talking about with your coolant in your car, or even make sure that also that all your fluids are operating right. And also out here in this extreme environment where in Las Vegas, people not from here would be surprised to know that it gets actually pretty cold during the winter.
Yeah.
And when you go from extreme highs to extreme cold, there's a lot of plastic components in our cars that can crack over time from getting dried out and dry, and then you get the different temperatures. It could be something as simple as a reservoir for your wiper fluid, but it also could be something more important that could cause you engine failure. So yeah, it's always important to get your car into the shop like you did and make sure it's running, and we'll be there for you.
And so we're coming into the time of the year, right? So we have Halloween, we have Thanksgiving, we have the Christmas and Hanukkah, you know, all these holidays coming up. Mm-hmm. Holiday driving, people are impaired, right? We don't want people to be impaired. They have the big signs that say wrong way. Don't go down those, right? Talk to us about that.
A big thing with Halloween coming up, too, is we would always like to remind everyone to really slow down, especially when you're driving around residential neighborhoods, and watch out for those kids. You're going to have a lot of kids on the streets out trick-or-treating on weekend of Halloween, and Halloween does fall on a weekend this year. So be very careful that day. There's going to be a lot of kids out in the neighborhoods. Yeah. And in fact, the Nevada Patrol is joining forces with other local law enforcement agencies this month to really focus on pedestrian safety.
Okay.
And when it comes to pedestrian safety, it goes both ways. It's up to the motorists to be always on the lookout for pedestrians crossing, but it's also important that those pedestrians, before you cross, if there's cars coming your way, try to make eye contact with them. Make sure that they see you. Don't assume that they see you, because they may not.
And so, you know, when you come off the freeway, sometimes you're traveling at a high rate of speed, and then you come off, and at the top of the off-ramp is two areas, you know, cement where people ride the bicycles or whatever, right? Same type of idea. Always double check and make sure that, because some of those are in some blind spots, I've noticed too.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Whether it's a bicycle or a pedestrian, sometimes they can be hard to spot. I mean, there's a lot of blind spots in motor vehicles. So take that extra time and really look around, especially if you're making a turn.
And so I noticed in Lee Canyon, they had their first snow.
Yes.
Right? So, you know, when it comes to, not that it's going to happen now, but, you know, sometimes they have the road closures, right, because of snow and things like that. And so they update that on the NHP Twitter feed for any type of road closures or anything like that, right?
Yes, if we have to shut down the roadways up to the mountain, either for inclement weather or when we start getting into the winter on the weekends especially, and everybody wants to go up and play in the snow, but the mountain's only so large and can only handle so much vehicular traffic that sometimes they have to close things down and to wait for a few people to leave the mountain before letting more people up. Otherwise, there's not going to even be anywhere to park. Everyone's just going to be up there stuck literally in traffic. So they really try to monitor that as well.
So we can always monitor on the Twitter feed for that.
Yes.
All right, let's get to some pictures. So this was yesterday, which was Sunday. And up in the top corner, we have Trooper May's car.
Yes.
Trooper May's wife was there. She brought her kids. I saw that one of the very special moments for me was seeing Trooper May's wife get out of the car.
Yes. It was a pretty touching moment when Trooper May's wife and their 2 young children wanted to go see their dad's car. And so we opened it up for them and allowed both children to go inside the car and sit in it. And anytime we have a chance for them to do that, I'm happy to do so. It's just another moment where they can kind of connect with their past father and kind of process the tragic events that have literally changed their entire lives. And it's important that they know that the Nevada Highway Patrol, all of the state troopers, they're a part of our family, and we'll always be there for them, whatever they need.
And I saw Trooper Wellman. She was there too. She was doing mama duties,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Taking care of the little ones, and it was a very special time. And so we, on behalf of the IPOF, when I spoke to you and asked you about doing this, I just want you to know that we appreciated you being there. And I know that you're very busy with all the other troopers and doing all this, but it really meant a lot.
No, this event is a very important event to us, and whenever I get a chance, I try to be out there and support it because it's a great cause, and it's actually a lot of fun. Anybody who hasn't been to the car show should go check it out. There's a lot of really neat cars out there, and you had live music, you have places to eat. It was a really nice day.
I thought it was really good, and the weather was fantastic.
Yes.
You know what I mean? All right. So this is at the car show. There's Trooper Wellman there with Trooper May's wife, and this was for the widows.
Yes. Yeah.
For
all the
widows that
officers
was
lost
there.
this year.
So we just want to pay tribute to them. We had a moment of silence there, and it was a very somber and very beautiful moment. All right. We have a video to watch. Now, talk us through what's going on here.
Okay, this was a staging right outside of Las Vegas at I-15, where there's a Love's truck stop there. And we had police officers, firemen, first responders from all over Southern Nevada gather last year. And they were anticipating the arrival of Sergeant Ben Jenkins' remains as he was being transported to Las Vegas to go to the medical examiner's office for their investigation after he had been murdered that day. And it just showed what a family all the first responders were, and how that you had this huge outpouring of support. And from the time Sergeant Jenkins lost his life to when he was laid to rest, he was never by himself. He always had police officers, firemen, and our first responder family accompanying him. And that's very important to us. As a part of the Honor Guard, we have to honor the fallen, and we have to make sure that their families know that their sacrifice meant something and that their lives meant something, and they were a hero. And so this was a big part of that. We had a procession for Sergeant Jenkins escorting him to the coroner's office that was miles long. I think it was approximately 7 miles long that night.
What is the Honor Guard?
The Honor Guard are, every police department has an Honor Guard, and those are the officers you're going to see who are dressed up. We often wear very shiny shoes. We have very pressed uniforms, white gloves, and we attend all the memorial services for fallen troopers. And we also present colors for major events. You may see honor guard members at the beginning of sporting events where we'll present the national colors or the flag. But a big portion of what we do is, unfortunately, we have to attend the memorial services and funerals for police officers killed in the line of duty. And it's an important job for me to be a part of because, like I said earlier, it's something I feel very passionate about, showing these families that their loved one who sacrificed everything for the communities they serve are shown the proper amount of respect and reverence, and shown that their loved one was a hero, and that they are, even though their loved one's lost, they are not alone. They will always have a family, and their family extends to hundreds of thousands of law enforcement officers across the entire country.
And so today, we're doing the filming for Trooper Talk, and you're leaving today.
Yes.
So, Sergeant Ben Jenkins, what is happening in the next couple of days, and take us through today through next Sunday?
Yes, actually this week, going through Sunday, is National Police Week in Washington, D.C. And it's once a year when you have all the police officers from across the country will send representatives and gather in Washington, D.C. to honor the fallen officers that we've lost since 2020. And in doing so, those officers will also be added to the National Memorial. There's a memorial in Washington, D.C. where they have the names of every police officer that's ever been killed in the line of duty added to it. And so there's going to be a good contingency of Nevada State Troopers who are making the trip to Washington, D.C., and also a large amount of Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department officers who are also going to be traveling to D.C. so we can honor Sergeant Ben Jenkins and Lieutenant Eric Lloyd as they're added to the memorial wall.
And we never want anyone added again.
No.
And so we appreciate you, as we've always talked about, and so we want to give support to you and tell you that what you're doing is a wonderful thing. You could be doing anything you want, and so we thank you. The whole entire community thanks you, and so a wonderful thing you're doing. We just wish you didn't have to do it.
Yes, I agree, Neil, and it means a lot for you to say that, and unfortunately, I wish we didn't have to do another one, but I know we'll be traveling back up to D.C. in May for doing the same thing for Trooper Micah May when he's added to the memorial wall.
It's just very sad.
Yes.
Take us through this.
So after the coroner's office conducted their investigation, we then had to escort Sergeant Ben Jenkins back home to the Elko area. So he had a police escort. Like I said, he'll never be by himself. And we escorted him all the way from Las Vegas back up to Elko. And it was a very touching part of my life, because as we entered in all these smaller, more rural townships throughout Nevada on our way back up north, we were just taken aback by the support. I mean, even here in Las Vegas, when you had our local firemen across the overpasses saluting Ben as he drove by, it was super touching. But it really hit home when we hit these smaller communities, and it seemed like everybody that lived in these small communities were out in force, lining the roadway, waving flags and just showing their support and offering their condolences. And I don't think there was a dry eye on anybody who was involved in this procession.
And so, when you're driving, you're by yourself in your own car,
Yes.
right? I mean, do you have self-reflection of yourself?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Like, what are you like as who you are? Like, what do you? You're not listening to the radio. Like, what are you doing? Like, tell us.
You're embracing those memories you have of the fallen officer, if you had the privilege to have worked with them or known them. It's a reflection on your own mortality. This is a job where you hope to make it to retirement, but it's not guaranteed. I mean, with both Sergeant Ben Jenkins and Trooper Micah May and other officers who were killed in the line of duty, they left their homes, kissed their wives and children's goodbye, and those families, you hope to make it home at the end of their shift, but it's not guaranteed. But I guarantee those families had no idea that that'd be the last time they would see Trooper Micah May or Sergeant Ben Jenkins or other officers where they go into work, try to serve their community, and then they're killed. And then next thing you know, these families are receiving a knock at the door from someone in our command staff with the somber news that their loved one's been horribly hurt or have lost their lives.
And like when you're driving, this is the time that you really can, not to say break down, but really be in yourself, because you know that you're going to be traveling, right?
Yes, yes, and it's just a moment of introspection where, like I said, you kind of reflect on your own mortality, but you're also thinking about, you're kind of praying about the family.
Yeah.
And just trying to comprehend the amount of devastation they're experiencing, and just making sure that you reaffirm with yourself that you'll always be there for them, and you're going to do everything you can for them, and that they're now a part of your family.
Yeah.
And just processing through your grief, just like anybody else would. Just trying to stay positive, appreciate the good times, but you're also, you can't help but be struck with sadness and a sense of loss.
I never had the privilege of meeting Sergeant Jenkins' wife, but I see it with the other widows from all the agencies,
Yes.
and as well with Trooper May's wife, and it's really tremendous. Like the outpouring of support and things like that, and so it's unfortunate they had to lose their life, but at least like you said, at least everybody to know that the community stands behind them.
Yes, no, and that's a big deal, and I think that really helps them with the grieving process.
Yeah. When I see things like this, I always look for the shoes. I look for the socks. I look
Yeah.
for the things that, that's somebody's human life, right?
Yes, exactly. Every one of these are lives changed.
And so, we just need to not have people drive so fast, and just take your time, and
It's like we've talked about, Neil. I mean, these crashes usually come down to a combination of speed, not wearing seatbelts, impaired driving, distracted driving, and just in general hazardous moving violations.
just people just slow down a little bit. All right, how about this one? This is something that we've talked about before.
Yes.
Which patience, talk to us a little bit about what we have.
Anytime you have an incident where there's a fuel spill or some other vehicle fluid spill, there's going to require some cleanup. And it's got to be thorough, because you have environmental concerns. You also have safety concerns, because these fluids can be very slick on the roadways. So it's going to take time to get everything thoroughly cleaned up and get the roadway safe for travel. So we just ask people to be patient.
Just be patient, and the fumes.
Yes.
Like we talked about, when they empty this thing, all of a sudden that tanker's now filled with fumes. It's not like you just, go there with a blowtorch and what I mean?
Those fumes can be very combustible.
So we just have to be careful. And okay, let's go to this one. Now, this is not something that we see all the time.
No.
And so, it's not a laughing matter at all.
No.
It's a very serious matter. We're thankful that all the firemen are safe,
Yes.
right? But
Yep, they were
sometimes
actually
they
on
need
their
help
way.
too.
Yes, they were on their way to respond to another crash, and unfortunately were involved in their own crash. And it's just another example of, you got to be careful out there, and things can get very slick in our valley when we have inclement weather, especially if there's been in a long period or a long dry spell in between rain or snow or whatever the incident is. When you have that moisture mixing with what we were talking about, vehicle fluids on the roadway, it's very slippery out there at times.
And so when we see any type of emergency vehicle, right, with the lights, we need to veer to the right.
Yes.
Not stay in front of it to try to race it.
No, you definitely have to give them right away because they are on their way to something important.
And so just move to the right, slow down.
Yes.
And so, how about this one? This is part of our new fast cam thing. Right? This is the same.
Yeah, anytime, like you say, we have
You
a
know,
large
look at all the
vehicle
cars just
overturn, it's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of time to get that scene cleared where it's safe for vehicular traffic again.
So just be patient. We had the day last, when we filmed last week, this happened on that day.
Yes.
Talk to us about what happened here.
Again, we had a tractor trailer overturn, and unfortunately, it cost somebody their life. This is somebody who was out doing their job, was involved in a single vehicle crash, and they're not going home.
And so when we see the tractor trailers, you know, like we talked about on the Trooper Talk, it's very hard to control that trailer when somebody cuts in front of you or whatever, so just give them the space.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They need a little bit of extra room and stuff like that. Let's just be safe. Well, that's this edition of Trooper Talk. You know, we want you to know that, as I said, that we appreciate you and what all the troopers are doing. We have the Trooper Sergeant Ben Jenkins patches that are on the IPOF website, and so you can order them now. I do have confirmation that the Trooper Micah May patches are on order, and so we should have those in 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. So be safe going to Washington, especially with the airline craziness, right?
Yes.
And we'll see you again next week on the Trooper Talk.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, thank you. Be safe this week.